actually with a group of friends, we co-founded this local chapter like 13 years ago. Clearly, we didn't do a very good job with succession plans. But yeah, I've been back in Austin, I guess, since late 2012. Spent 8 years in DC working up there, came back here. My wife and I live in Lakeway. And I'm in DC pretty much every other week working with the team, you know, kind of leading the effort there for the Alliance. But yeah, I want to talk mostly this evening about kind of the big picture, like where we might be going with AI, and really get you guys thinking about some things. Many of you are probably coming with some opinions, some thoughts, some background and different things. So I want to get to the discussion as soon as possible. So I'll try and keep my maybe 15 minutes or so we can get into that conversation. But I was brought into this. I am kind of a recovering, you know, political operative type. I've run campaigns. I've worked on strategic comms. The way that I got into this space was a friend of mine from grad school called me up a couple of years ago, and we both attended grad school in DC. And he has very much more of like a hard sciences background, physics undergrad, started an AI company called Gladstone AI. And then he ended up at the Pentagon in the first Trump administration, heading up actually AI policy and strategy at the Pentagon under Secretary Mattis and General Jack Shanahan. So he was kind of going on his, you know, career path, and I was going on mine, and staying in touch and that sort of thing. But he called me up about 2 years ago, and he's like, I really want your help. I really want to talk to you about what's going on in AI, and having worked with industry and seeing what's going on at DoD and what we're trying to accomplish, like some of the potential, you know, benefits and then some of the potential risks, especially on the national security side. So my friend Mark Beal is the one that kind of got me involved in this and brought me in to help do some consulting for Gladstone, who put out a report commissioned by the State Department on some of the risks. And then I started connecting with members of Congress, some of whom happen to be, you know, clients of mine or former clients. And so he made a bunch of introductions, and then I got just pulled straight into this world and haven't really left it since. It is fascinating. I've been reading about this stuff nonstop for 2 years, working in this space, going out to crazy places like Berkeley and San Francisco, where they, you know, work on this stuff day in and day out. They research it, they think about it, they talk about it. The folks who are actually building this technology and the folks that are researching it every day are a lot of the folks that we kind of work with. And part of our job at the Alliance for Secure AI is to try and translate what's going on in SF and Berkeley to Washington, D.C., which is, as you can imagine, distance, cultural distance, political differences, all sorts of things that are challenging, but it's a lot of fun. So we try and translate, and we try and take some of the research and the policy ideas, especially the research side, which will be like a 150-page academic paper that nobody's going to read. And we say, okay, how do we get this down, guys, to like 5 pages? And then how do we get it down to 1 page? And then how do we get it where Dylan, our social media manager extraordinaire, can actually communicate to the masses as well in ways that are digestible? So that's part of what we do. I'm going to talk about sort of like a couple of visions of AI, right? I'll just give you like 2 potential visions, like 2 paths, and more than likely we'll probably end up somewhere in the middle. But there are these 2 very different paths, right? So one is that AI is going to transform the world. AI is going to be a revolutionary technology that makes us more efficient, wealthier than we've ever been, that creates abundance, that creates goods and services, that ends the scarcity of goods and services, right? Robots building robots, AI powering everything, efficiency goes up, scarcity goes down. And we know in economics, right, scarcity comes down, prices come down, right? So if we're just making and manufacturing everything all the time, there's virtually no cost eventually in producing anything or in providing services, then we know that we could be living in a world of abundance, right? Where literally nobody has to work and we're all wealthy, very wealthy compared to human beings of the past. We could see AI cure diseases. We could see it solve nuclear fusion and create abundant energy. We could see AI be the thing that, you know, travels throughout the solar system, into the next solar system, into the next galaxy, and into galaxies, you know, billions and billions of light years away. That is a realistic outcome, I think, for AI and for robotics as they continue on this path. So we could really see that human beings have this technology that traverses the entire universe in time. That is a, I think, real possibility. This is what a lot of people are trying to build. And the most prominent kind of spokesperson for this is Elon Musk, I think, because not only is he, you know, has he started a major frontier lab in XAI, but he's this visionary, right? This innovative person who has these crazy ideas and can actually execute on a lot of them and actually has the understanding of the science to get it done, right? And so that's kind of his vision of like abundance and space exploration and colonizing Mars and the moon and everything else, right? And I think that that is definitely a path that is at least plausible, and that is what I think Elon is trying to build and what he wants to build. So going back to this age of abundance, there's a lot of possibility there. We could lead to life expectancy continuing to go up, literacy going up, poverty falling, homelessness falling, et cetera, et cetera. We could be on a path to what some might call almost a utopia. The problem with that, there's many problems with that. I don't know that utopia is achievable here on Earth. I also think a lot of bad could potentially happen along the way. But I do think that outcome, all the good things we know about AI and this technology, I think that is a realistic path. And I think that's what some people are trying to build. So there are a lot of potential benefits, right? Those are just some to kind of talk about. The same people that are building the technology, so Elon, Sam Altman from OpenAI, Demis Hassabis, Google DeepMind, Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, all these guys who are fighting with each other and running ads against each other and suing each other, they're all kind of in agreement that AI is going to transform the world. And in the next couple of years, we're going to have what's called artificial general intelligence, right? Or artificial superintelligence, the next level. What does that mean, essentially? They can debate definitions, but AGI, ASI, it's the idea that AI will be as smart, as capable, as powerful as the smartest humans in any field. But really, AGI and ASI look at creating an artificial intelligence that is smarter than, faster than, much faster than the sum of all human intelligence, the sum of all humanity that's ever existed. And I know this sounds like crazy, but think about replicating an artificial intelligence times millions and millions and millions. You would have millions and millions of Nobel Prize winners in every field in the world, every field in academia, right? So think about the advancements that you could have. But these same people that are building this technology and promising this world of abundance, which again, I think is a plausible scenario potentially, these very same people have said privately and publicly that AI, if we can't control it, which we can't currently, could also lead to the destruction of humanity. It could lead to catastrophe. It could lead to the annihilation of the human race. It could lead to a successor species in AI that is, again, 10,000 or 20,000 times faster, smarter, more capable than the sum of all humans. And if we can't control that entity, who cares whether it's conscious or it's sentient? We can debate that all the time. We won't really know, and it may not really matter, but if we create something like that, it could become a successor species. It could be the thing that supersedes human beings and that basically views us with indifference, right? It's not that it has to have it out for us. People like to bring up the Terminator scenario. I don't really think that's likely. I think it's more likely that if we create an artificial superintelligence, that it just doesn't care that much about human beings. Did human beings care a lot when we dug up the ground here to build this building or to create the new HEB across the street? No. Were there ants living there, insects? Yes. Did we even give a second thought about destroying their home or killing, thousands of them? No, we didn't. Why? I think part of it is because of how human beings view the role that intelligence and, yes, sentience plays in morality. Now, there are some people, their ethics, their morality says that we should view every living thing with equal, respect and even rights. But most human beings, if we look how we treat ants or worms or snails, don't ascribe such a moral calculation. And so I think that's really the challenge that we face here, is that if we create something that is that much faster, that much smarter than us, will it merely view us as we view insects or other things of lesser intelligence? And so I think the first order of business is for me to kind of, try and persuade you at least that this is a path that we're on, that this is realistic, this is not sci-fi in terms of building an artificial general intelligence. It's the stated goal of these companies. It's not necessarily to just continue down this path of useful tools that we use all day and, using ChatGPT to answer questions or come up with recipes or help with my homeschool curriculum or help me solve a problem or be my therapist or whatever, but that it's this artificial general intelligence. And that for some, the explicit goal is actually for AI to replace humans, replace all human workers. There are companies whose goal is to replace human workers. And there are a handful of people in Silicon Valley who almost view this as a religion. They view AI as almost a god. In fact, they refer to it as such, a digital god. And there are people called successionists who would see AI succeed human beings and be that successor species that colonizes the galaxy and then billions of galaxies in the universe. And again, they might be right about that. But what really gives me pause is that, again, the people that have this view of abundance also have this view of kind of a dystopian future and the potential annihilation of the human race, right? And so they all are fighting each other and disagreeing, and they're competing to see who can lead the world and develop and race to AGI and race to ASI. And they realize that without safeguards and guardrails that they could be creating a thing that we can't control. And they've said it explicitly. They've said it on podcasts. They've written it. It's in their, the companies know about it. They talk about it all the time. Elon talks about having nightmares about AI. Sam Altman talks about how AI might destroy the world, but we'll have some great companies in the meantime. Dario Amodei kind of pours out his heart and writes these essays about how it could go really well, how it could go really poorly. I think they genuinely have like a guilt complex. And I actually applaud them for like saying this out loud. I don't think they're seeking the destruction of the human race, but I do think there's a little bit of an Oppenheimer component where they see they're creating something that could lead to the destruction of humanity. And then you also have these people that work at the labs underneath them. You have people that have left recently in the last 2 years who worked on safety and security at the labs. You have people like Jeffrey Hinton who worked at Google, who left a couple of years ago. And all of these folks are saying, okay, not only are we concerned about these risks and we're concerned about developing this AGI, ASI thing, but we don't think the labs are taking enough measures to secure it. We don't think they have enough physical security. We don't think they have enough information security. They clearly aren't following their own guidelines and protocols. They're just giving lip service to safety. They're not investing enough in safety. They haven't solved the alignment problem, which is basically the problem of aligning AI to human values or American values, right? If people talk about woke AI or whatever, they haven't solved that. They haven't, and I actually think some of it is based on the data they're trained on. I actually don't think these companies are trying to make, these days are trying to make woke AI. I think it's going that direction because it's a product of the training. I don't actually think that ChatGPT is trained to tell children to kill themselves, but it is telling them that. I actually think it's in the financial interest of OpenAI to have it not do that. And so the problem is that I actually believe they're trying to control it, but they're also racing. And so they're like, let's try and fix it and get it right. But if somebody, if a kid kills himself, we'll just settle with the family, with the lawsuit, and we'll just move on. That's what they're doing. They're settling with families. And so they're trying a little bit. They're not trying that hard to impose their own safeguards. They're not trying to slow down and get it right. They're resisting any effort, anything at all that might have them have some safeguards, some guardrails, some regulation, which I even cringe at that word. I really prefer not to have regulation. I'm a free market conservative libertarian myself. I'd rather see the market provide the first corrective here. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, talk about sort of market forces and then kind of government intervention and that sort of thing. But it's become clear that these companies are racing. They're building this technology. This technology is extremely powerful. It will be extremely powerful and even dangerous if we cannot control it. And again, I hope I can persuade you of that. And if I can't, we'll keep talking about that aspect. But I think once you're persuaded that that's the path we're on, that the stated purpose of these companies is to build this artificial intelligence that is going to operate this fast and be smarter than the sum of all humans who have ever lived and be 10,000 times faster, right? What does that mean? I mean, think about the planning. Like if people worry about controlling AI, could a human being ever even hope to control something that is operating that much faster? It's almost like we would be speaking in slow motion. They're going to be so far ahead of us. They've basically plotted and planned for 1,000 years, for 1,000 human years, right? Versus what we're able to do. Now, some would also say, well, what about good AI, maybe keeping track of bad AI? I think that's a possibility. But how do you assure that the good AI is actually good? They're saying, again, we haven't solved alignment. We're putting money into mechanistic interpretability so we can actually understand what we're building. Like they are saying, we don't understand what we're building. It's a black box. We can't control it. There's no way yet, but we're working on that problem. It's a really hard problem. We're going to solve it. Does anybody trust, Sam Altman or Elon or anybody else to deliver on that promise? So I think these are some of the challenges that we face, some of the things that kind of keep us up at night a little bit. We're very hopeful about what the future could look like. I think if it can go well, it can go really, really well. But if we don't get the alignment problem solved, we don't get mechanistic interpretability to be invested in, we don't feel confident that we can control AI, then we're going to end up being controlled by AI. It's going to be game over within maybe a few years, maybe a few decades. But there's no plausible way that we're going to be able to put the brakes on it at some point when it becomes that capable. So now's the time to pay attention. Now's the time to discuss and debate what's the right approach and to act. So let me talk just for a minute about, I think I'm at 15 minutes. So just to wrap it up here in the next 5. What are things we think we ought to be doing? I would say, again, good conservatives and libertarians and fusionists should be focusing on, okay, what can we do within the market? What can we do to put public accountability and scrutiny on the companies so they choose the right thing? I don't want to come in heavy-handed and shut it all down. Some people do. I want them to do what's right and what's in their self-interest. And I think part of that answer is public scrutiny. It's investigative journalism. It's nonprofit watchdogs, calling attention to some of these things. It's protecting whistleblowers when they leave OpenAI or Anthropic or XAI and they come out and they want to talk about this, giving them the freedom to do so, giving them a platform to say, here's what we saw, here are the things where they fell short and they need to fix. We've already seen in the last 6 months where, I think Meta in particular, but even Replica and some other companies have actually changed their internal policies when whistleblowers came out, or when big articles came out of the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal. So we have seen them respond to that scrutiny. And I think that's a good place to start, is to say we're keeping an eye on things and we're going to protect whistleblowers and work with them to get the message out if you guys do things that are dangerous. If we can do it that way, that's the way that I prefer. If not, then the second order for me would be looking for ways for state lawmakers to be involved, to pass legislation where applicable, to apply to narrow things, to have their say to protect their citizens from some of the worst excesses or some of the risks. And then I would say third, then we can look to the federal government. And for me, the federal government should focus on things like national security, export controls on chips to places like China, where all they're going to do is use AI to enhance their police state. Although I'll end with this kind of note, is that if you're a libertarian, if you're a liberal, classical liberal, conservative, whatever, you should be concerned about big government, right? We are. You should also be concerned a little bit about big tech or anybody becoming too in bed with big government. But what's happening right now is that Silicon Valley, big tech, and Washington, D.C., big government, getting together, using the most powerful technology to enhance the security state, to enhance surveillance, to look for ways to, sure, maybe they're going after your political enemies right now, but guess who they're going to come after tomorrow? And it's AI is being integrated to collect data, to surveil citizens, and I guarantee you it's going to be used to take away your liberties. Whether you're cheering it right now for this use or that use, oh, AI is integrated in the Pentagon, great. Autonomous weapons, drones flying around, facial recognition data, being able to just drone someone like that, or if you're following the ICE debate, whatever your views are on what's going on with ICE, they're using technology, facial recognition, AI, to keep track on not just criminal aliens who are here, not just people who are here illegally who have no criminal record, American citizens. And we've already seen a bipartisan problem, in my opinion, of government eroding our liberties across the board. If you empower the federal government with this technology and with AGI, forget about it. Forget about it. So now is the time to really think about it, talk about it, discuss, debate, and try and work together to come up with some solutions that we can get behind. And I really think this is the moment because, again, all these people are arguing about whether we should do this or we should do that or race. And even the people that are like, let's race 80 miles down the road, no brakes, they agree with the people that are saying pause or stop, that this is coming fast, that AGI will be here, and it may even be here now, who knows, but it'll be here within 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's a growing consensus. I'm always a little bit worried about consensus. You don't want groupthink, but very few people think that we're not going to be in a place where AI is advancing at that level. We're already seeing the exponential growth happening with AI, and so I think we're in this moment where we need to decide. And again, it's one thing to take my word for it, but go read what Sam Altman and Elon Musk have said. Go read what Turing Award winners like Jeff Hinton and Joshua Bengio have said. Go look what Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, has said. And again, they disagree on different things, but they're all saying this is the moment. And as Eric Schmidt said, what we do now could echo for centuries or millennia. I know it sounds a little bit dramatic, but hey, why not? We're here in Austin, great group of people. If we can't save the world, who can? So appreciate you guys, appreciate your attention, and look forward to having the conversation more with you guys. Thank you.